is the leading candidate for the Zimbabwean presidential elections, Honorable Xavier Kasukuwere. I'd like to give the mic over to Dr. Mzembe to give us his address.
Good morning, folks. I trust you are well and blessed. It is 3 weeks precisely on the 22nd of June that I, as chief convener of this campaign, introduced the independent candidature of Honorable Xavier Kasukuwere in the harmonized elections to be held in Zimbabwe on the 23rd of August 2023. Since our introduction of his candidature, it has garnered significant attention and interest. His entry into the race has effectively revitalized the political landscape, reinvigorating both the electorate, and the candidate has done extremely well. Various labels and descriptors have been attributed to his candidature, such as Passenger 34, the X Factor, the only game in town, and the leading presidential candidate, amongst others. This demonstrates the impact his candidacy has had in reversing electoral fatigue and political indifference amongst the populace. During our previous media briefing, we informed you that the candidate successfully submitted his nomination papers and underwent the necessary due diligence process to validate his compliance as a presidential candidate. Subsequently, his candidature was legally endorsed through a government gazette of the 30th of June 2023, affirming his status as a bona fide presidential candidate. However, our campaign has encountered challenges along the way. The incumbent president has shown a clear desire to determine who competes with him or against him and prevent Xavier from appearing on the ballot paper. Recent events have further highlighted this intention as the contestation has shifted from the people as electors to the courts of Zimbabwe as adjudicators. Two challenges have been lodged by individuals aligned with the ruling elite seeking to bar our candidate from participating in the 2023 elections. The High Court of Zimbabwe is fast establishing itself as an endorser of the Mnangagwa presidency, from how it uncharacteristically endorsed the November 2017 coup adjudicated in his favor in the disputed 2018 elections, to now seeking to snooker his competitor and other competitors off the ballot paper. At this rate, elections are now a mere ritual, and 2023 may as well be decided by the High Court of Zimbabwe in his favor. He becomes a de facto selected president by the High Court, not elected by the people of Zimbabwe. Regrettably, one of these cases that was brought before the courts incurred a ruling that barred Honorable Xavier Kasukuwere from participating in the upcoming elections. Interestingly, the judgment went beyond what was being asked for by the applicant, seemingly for lack of an appropriate anecdote, granting divorce where a peace order was being sought. Notwithstanding, our legal team has since successfully lodged a notice of appeal to this ruling, which at law automatically suspends the ruling of the High Court throwing a lifeline back to Honorable Kasukuwere, who remains on the ballot. Stealing an election is not just fidgeting with numbers. It is not swelling them for oneself or swapping numbers and blessing oneself with competitors' superior numbers only. It begins in the choice of who to vote for. It begins with stealing people's choices by denying them the right of choice or their right of choice, inventing technicalities and declaring lawfare against opponents. Stealing an election is denying your opponents an opportunity to sell their manifestos and policies by preventing equal access to media and banning their rallies. Stealing an election is a psychological warfare on a population through merchandising fear that alternative choices constitute treason and denying them social protection and food as a result. Finally, stealing an election is regimentation of a people by creating checking-in centers before polling stations where voters are subjected to roll calls, intimidated on who to vote for, and are then frog-marched to polling booths, shepherded by agents of a system in a country where a significant number are often declared illiterate, but the country has a 94% literacy rate, and then aiding them to vote. Security forces also have a right of choice. You may be their commander-in-chief today, but they have a right to vote in a new commander-in-chief, who may not necessarily be the incumbent. Stealing an election is enforcing a commandist postal ballot system for them. They also have their choices. This in totality is what constitutes the gamut of electoral theft and a discredited election, which no one in Zimbabwe and the globe and the international community require at this stage. The worst tragedy in our circumstances today is to have a repeat of disputed elections, as we have seen in the past. To have elections that become a ritual of disputation, rituals of conflict, and rituals that are settled only by the courts and least by the people of Zimbabwe. So therefore, citizens should wake up to these realities of what characterize our elections. And it only happens in Zimbabwe, where such things pass with impunity as I've described them. So this morning, we have invited you to learn and understand the intricacies of this election from the presidential candidate himself, who is fortunately now back in the game. Honorable Zimbabwe Kasukuwere.
Lots of paperwork. Thanks, Chairman. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At this juncture, let me also welcome our legal advisor, Mr. Mabuza Eric, who's with us. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for coming to this press conference this afternoon to speak to you about the latest developments regarding my campaign for the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. As my colleague and chairperson, Dr. Mzembe, has alluded to, our candidature, my candidature, was accepted by the nomination court in terms of the law of our land, gazetted in the National Gazette, Government Gazette, and after that, some decided to contest that position, which is expected in any country. And the High Court made a ruling a few days ago. We've noted the judgment of the High Court, on my purported exclusion from the 2023 presidential race. I continue to respect the courts as constitutional institutions and that they have a duty to play in our democracy. And in this case, I strongly disagree with this judgment and the manner in which it granted relief beyond what had been sought. Legally, there are also a lot of areas which our team have been looking at and will be raising in our appeal, which has since been successfully filed with the Supreme Court of Zimbabwe. The team has since also noted the areas of concern, quite a number of areas of concern, and we have no doubt that we shall be succeeding in our endeavor to overturn this judgment. We respect our courts, like I said earlier on, but there are moments where we still also, as citizens of a country, have a right and duty to protect ourselves, the ordinary citizens in our country, and all those who aspire to participate in the politics. They must be protected by the law. So we are enjoined to defend ourselves and to call out where we think there is a challenge. So the Supreme Court will be dealing with the matter at a point or time which obviously will be in keeping with their rules of the Supreme Court. I would also like to enjoin and ask ZEC to observe the legal position, print and gazette the ballot paper with my name as expected on the 22nd of July 2023. I remain a lawfully nominated candidate for the presidency. We are aware of why Mnangagwa has to resort to this kind of tactics. This is what happens when you're a coward. You try as much as possible to find every avenue. Yes, it's politics, but this has gone beyond politics. These are the effects of state capture. This is what happens when an individual thinks he is more powerful than the state. Like I said a few weeks ago, as I launched my bid, we've taken this extraordinary decision in this extraordinary time and moment to save our country from danger. If there is any time that Zimbabwe must dodge the bullet, it is now. Our countrymen are called upon on the 23rd of August to exercise their rights to remove a cancerous and dangerous situation. This man is not fit for business. He's not fit for the office. We have observed that he fails to appreciate that leadership is more than your individual aspirations or selfish desires. It goes beyond that. It's about observing the rules of your country, upholding the constitution of your country, protecting everybody. Like my colleague, Honorable Mzembe, said earlier on, the conduct of elections, and which is a very critical point that I'll be making just now, must be fair, must not just be fair, but must be seen also to be fair, pre, during, and after the elections. The conditions that exist before the elections, that will exist during the elections and after elections, are what constitute a free and fair election. Zimbabwe needs free and fair elections. We've had a long time. Our people have suffered enough. We must conduct ourselves in a manner that at the end of the day, whoever wins receives support from everyone. This is essential for Zimbabwe to get the support it requires, one within the region, in the African Union, as well as worldwide. We have big challenges to confront, the sanctions, but it starts with us achieving internal harmony cohesion within our country and showing the world that when it is given or when we have an opportunity to exercise our rights as Zimbabweans, we do so in a manner that is peaceful, that is within our constitution. There is no need for all these shenanigans. There is no need for all these attempts to suppress the aspirations of the people of Zimbabwe. We are aware that SADC is looking forward to these elections, and I call upon SADC leadership to take note. Please take note. We need Zimbabwe out of this ditch. This is a huge test on our SADC leadership. It is a huge test on the IU as well as observers, that Zimbabwe should be able to produce a set of results out of an election that is little disputes, very little disputes. We're worried when we see intimidation, when we see others are banned from having rallies, whilst others are allowed to have what we call moving crowds, rented crowds, from one place to the other. You can't win an election on the basis of rented crowds and chicken in supplies. Serious politics requires that we sell our policies to the people, to the ground, and we engage our people in real substantive issues of development. My appeal to SADC is that Zimbabwe's situation cannot be ignored. SADC must lift its head and look at what's happening in that piece of land between the Limpopo and Zambezi. Its stability is so critical for the entire region. What happens in Zimbabwe has an effect on South Africa, Mozambique, Malawi, Tanzania, Angola, Zambia, Botswana, Lesotho, and Swaziland, all these regional states. If Zimbabwe conducts her elections in a good and peaceful manner, we will attend to our economy, allow our citizens to come back and play their part in the development of our nation. We have a lot of our people who are living outside the country, and they're facing numerous difficulties. My appeal will be emotional because I think we owe it to our people to give them a good opportunity to recover from these years of pain, suffering, and unending challenges. It can't be about the individuals, your personal interests, your selfish altruism. It must be about the collective aspirations of the people of Zimbabwe. We've got to call back and rebuild our great nation. We have an economy to look at, and that economy requires a government that is chosen by and for the people of Zimbabwe. You can't impose yourself every time there's an opportunity. Threats of arrests, even expired warrants of arrests are brought up. Everything is done to try and muzzle those of us who are standing this election. We will be campaigning. We will be on the ground at the appropriate time and very soon. But we are also aware of the material conditions that exist, more so after the 2017 coup, the way it was handled. But that does not stop us from curing the coup and all that comes with it in our nation. At the bare minimum, we just want good elections that allows Zimbabwe to rebuild herself. That's all we're seeking for. We don't want retribution, we want to rebuild. We don't want hatred, anger to be the currency for the next 5 years. I think the pain that we've gone through in the past 5 years cannot be replicated in the next 5 years. Let's allow Zimbabwe to pull back. Let Zimbabwe look after her people. Let Zimbabwe do that which it can to build itself up again, and it's possible, and it can be done. But we require our leadership in the region not to put their heads in the sand and not raise these matters. I lift off my head to the Prime Minister of Lesotho, who raised this matter a few days ago with the President of Botswana. He spoke it within the context of SADC. We support what he said because it's essential. No country is an island. We are all together in the region. What affects country A will also affect country B. Colleagues, what Zimbabwe faces is economic meltdown. This is what is now necessary, and this is the challenge before us. Inflation, cost of living, low incomes, pensioners who are suffering, war veterans who are earning a pittance, the youth who have no future, drug and diseases. These are the immediate challenges that face our people. So our appeal to all of us, to the whole world, please, let us work to help Zimbabwe come out of this situation. The elections, we are in them. We are going to participate. We will be participating. These shenanigans will not stop us. We have a duty to do it. There will be threats against us, but those will not deter us. We will fight on, and it's game on. The courts are expected to look at the facts. The courts are expected to be fair to all of us. And I have no doubt that once this matter reaches the Supreme Court, they will also look at it and give it a fair understanding as well as a fair judgment that will assist our country out of the challenges we're facing. So I thought this morning we would meet just to update you. It's game on. Passenger 34 is on board. We are cruising. There is no going back. We have our seat in the plane. Yes, the passenger 34, the story which my dear brother Mzembe coined it, passenger 34, was an interesting one. It showed us immediately what they were prepared to do. They surrounded the airport, trying to arrest me. I don't know what they would have wanted to do, but you ask yourself, why are you so scared of Xavier Kasukwere? I'm just one individual. I'm standing as an independent candidate. But I know that behind the curtain, millions of Zimbabweans are rooting for this candidate because they know what it means. We've got to undo this evil machinery. We've got to undo corruption. We've got to undo tribalism. We've got to undo selfishism. A man who should lead a country must embrace all. You can't own everything. The banks are mine, the mines are mine, the rivers are mine, or everywhere where there's gold, there's an opportunity, you are there. Octopus. That's not a nation. I'm not attacking an individual, but I'm attacking a behavioral menace in our society. So colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we are cruising. Thank you very much. Marshall, you want me fast, quick?
No, I'm just helping you.
You want me to say something again?
I'm just offering a helping hand, that's all. You heard that, ladies and gentlemen, passenger 34 is on board and cruising very nicely. I'd like to take this moment to open up the floor to questions. And as I see your hand, I'll give you an opportunity now, DW as well. We also have everybody who's joining us online. We've got Nadina who's taking down those questions for us. And we only have one mic. The hotel couldn't help us with a second mic. So I'm going to have to be doing like twos and fros. I'll start with you, Ndayezo.
I think my voice is loud enough.
My dear, we're recording here.
No, good afternoon to everyone. It's Ndayezo from Eyewitness News. I just have two questions. On the appeal that you've launched, what are the prospects of success around that, and what are your arguments? The second one, you mentioned that you know the reasons why the incumbent president is doing this. Could you please elaborate on those reasons that you say you know of? Thanks.
Okay.
It's around the reasonable prospects of success, and perhaps also on that. Do you have you been given it for the elections or after? Thanks.
Let's just go forward.
From the CDC. Mr. Kasukure, just a follow-up question from if your appeal doesn't succeed, what is the recourse? What are you going to do going forward? Also, if you don't contest in these elections, what is the impact it will have on the presidential election? Oh yeah, that is all.
Do you mind? We've got the mic back now. Do you mind just repeating this? You got it? Okay.
Can I speak from there or I have to
Yes,
go?
yeah, no problem.
Thank you very much, Ndaizo. The first question that you raised is to do with the date of the Supreme Court hearing. No, we've not been favored as yet. Our papers were accepted a day or so ago, and we are waiting, obviously, for the registrar of the Supreme Court to contact our legal team in Harare, and upon which I think they will then spell out the processes and steps to be taken thereafter. With regards to the prospects of success, we are 199% certain that our appeal before a competent bench of lawyers or judges, we will succeed. And we say so. Maybe I'll ask my brother here, have you read it? Not yet.
I have read it, but I need to see the papers. One of the problems is the issue of jurisdiction, that they've gone to the wrong court and should have been thrown out on that basis. And even the evidence that was tendered to disqualify you is not credible evidence.
So, just a layman, I won't want to go into much detail because it's sub judice, but from a layman's point of view, or what they call the reasonable man in the street understanding, this case should have died right at the doorstep of the High Court. But it has been given some lifeline, and I have no doubt that the Supreme Court will do the correct thing to terminate it, because it is just an unsustainable, no one can sustain that argument in a court of law. And I think you've seen the various positions jurists have taken with regard to this matter across our country. They are shocked and beyond belief what it was meant to achieve. And then thirdly, you have, well, this comrade has always wanted power through hook or crook. And we are not surprised with what he has been doing. As you know, that he had to roll guns out, tankers, to dethrone Robert Mugabe. That was a coup, whether people like it or not. That was a coup. And he misled a lot of people in the process, lied to them, and many of them now are worried. Why did we do this? What was it meant to achieve? It has always been about himself. I will not shy away from saying this, because I am standing up against a man called Emmerson Mnangagwa because of his behavior. You don't use the laws of the country, you don't weaponize institutions to only satisfy your narrow parochial interests. We are all equal. The Constitution makes it clear that every Zimbabwean is equal. There's no greater than the other. So, he knows he's dirty, which we all know. and he will not stop at harassing some people like myself. Spurious charges. He has gone to court on several occasions. As I'm speaking now, he's busy trying to cook up some evidence. Let's look for something to do with Kasukuwere. Once he lands, we must jail him for 3, 4, 5 years. He even interfered in my own trial to the extent that my lawyer, then Jonathan Samkange, was removed. He called him to his office and said, Wena, if you stand and defend this one, we want to send Kasukuwere to jail. And that evidence I have, incontrovertible evidence. I know what he said when he said to Jonathan, and Jonathan cannot deny that. Samkange. Now, he knows he has been fighting a personal battle. He is trying as much as possible to stop me from. I am saying I have a duty, I have a right like any other Zimbabwean to stand for an office. You don't move around and say so and so on, he is my enemy. He is my enemy or is my rival. No, we are all Zimbabweans. So we believe that this process of trying to disenfranchise us is one of those reasons that you try and advance in a bid to try and stay in power. But with regards to him, no, we will not be deterred. We need a change in our country, and ED is in the ballot box with me and others. That's why I chose just one spot. We didn't go to all the other positions. No, MP is no problem. Councillor is no problem. Yena, that is where the problem is. So, Emerson, just hang tight there. 23 August. Let the people decide. Just wait a bit. Let's just finish it there. If you win, I'll say my president. If you don't, Tyson, my president. Done deal. Letaba, well, if the appeal does not succeed, I don't know how it won't succeed. It was a very solid one. How do you disenfranchise me? Where have I been staying? Where is evidence of where I'm staying? I signed the other papers, I was in Lusaka. The other ones I signed when I was in Malawi. I have become a citizen of the world, including my country, because of the situation I know is in Zimbabwe. If I remain there, if I had remained there for 2, 3 more days, I go in, and Emerson doesn't need to know this. I go in and out, go in and out. That's none of his business. How I go in and get out, that's my business. But because we understand him, you don't want a tombstone on your head very quickly. And if I don't contest the impact, just by this judgment, many people were horrified in Zimbabwe. The people are excited that we are standing, because they know what we're standing against. Colleagues and comrades have been saying to me, yes, we will tell you when to be around, but what we need is just your name on the ballot box. That's what they want. They just want the name. Campaign, don't worry about the campaigns, we'll campaign for you. We know what we are doing. But people know that they need to be served. So I don't think my absence from this contest will be a small thing. It will be a very big issue. But it will not happen. There are many steps. A cat has 9 lives. So we will be the proverbial cat that has been thrown in there, and we'll do exactly what we must do.
Thank you, President. Are there more questions? Dita Bandaizo, are you guys happy with the responses? Yeah. Satisfied? Any more questions in the room? Okay, we've got a question. No, not in the room. Online.
Oh, online?
Yeah.
Sorry, Eric whispered something that I just not taken note of, that my disenfranchisement is not personal, but that they want to deny millions of Zimbabwe their rights. It's not me. It's not me. It's the millions who want to vote, who have a duty to exercise their rights. Why do you target 1 out of 11? There are 11 candidates. I don't want to talk of my colleagues, some who have never stayed in Zimbabwe. But they're there, but there is one they want there. And that's why I also say there's one I also want there. So it's two actually, it's the two of us. So can this ZEC and the courts be fair? Leave us to finish it, the two of us. Don't worry about the rest. Just not me and you, my brother. That's what I need in the ring. I need ED in the ring. Tyson versus ED. The crocodile versus Tai. Let's finish it. I don't know why people are getting confused. Don't get entangled. Me and him. We come a long way. Let us finish it and let the country move forward.
Thank you, President. What can I do when I have a president who's got a sense of humor? The question that came online is from Kuda Kwashe Sibanda. And it says, if your appeal is denied, who will you throw your weight behind? And also, how will your rural voters hear from you since you're not on ground? When can we expect you to be on ground?
Thank you, Kuda. The rural voters and I are actually in direct communication almost every day. I was national political of ZANU-PF for a long time, and my network, my phone number they have, theirs I also have, so we are communicating. We are in constant communication. And I actually want to thank them, many of them, for the campaigns that they are doing. They are in ZANU-PF vehicles and trucks, but they're doing a good job. We are happy that they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job. They are doing a good job. Keep it up, comrades. Keep the fight on. That's how guerrillas fight. Don't be intimidated. Just be careful. Don't let them know. But we are happy. The posters have reached all corners of our country. More material is coming. We have a saying in our country. There's Zebe Zebe, I don't know what they call it. Zebe Zebe. Whisper campaign. So they're doing a good job. But I'm also happy that even the leadership in ZANU-PF, they know what I'm talking about. So I'm addressing them because we know each other. They know that this comrade who's there, they actually don't like him as well. So I'm not fighting anybody. I'm only doing what they've asked me to do. That we need your name there. So, comrade, my name is there. I'll fight to keep the name there, but you do your part. Some of them have been Manicaland today. They were at the hotel yesterday, meeting with the chiefs. They will talk about Kasukwere. We must not allow him. But when they have drinks, our language is understood. So we are in this game. We're in this game. So come 23 August, I have no doubt that Zimbabwe will celebrate. It will be a different country. Just don't die between now and 23 August because we are about to get into Canaan. And his other question, that was to do with the rural votes. Who will I give my vote to? Hey, Chief, why are you rushing? Relax, wait. The elections have not been kicked out. On the ballot. We'll cross the river when we get there.
The other question that comes from Justice Mdutuki says, if you happen to lose the appeal, what is the next steps? We need to know because we want your name on the ballot. Your name has to be on the ballot.
I must be careful what I say now. The minute they signed the Patriot Act.
That's how scared he is.
Just now, eh? Anyway, enough. So I hope. You just signed it now. Wow. Okay. Anyway, he signed it. We will remove it. 2 acts that will repeal. Citizens cannot be forced. The other one is the PVO bill. Those don't work in our favor. We have to speak from outside because we know there's a problem inside. And this is why we're appealing to SADC and everybody. Now look at it. You go to the world and say, no, let's assist Zimbabwe. With this kind of behavior, where you'll be arrested for smiling outside the country. You'll be arrested for laughing. In fact, all of you Zimbabweans who are laughing in this room, you are likely to be in prison as well. And even the judgment on me, well, the so-called judgment says, he can't call himself president even wherever he is. In other words, if a janitor, when I'm in the bathroom, says, Mr. President, that could be a crime, I must say, no, please don't, because I'll be arrested. No. And a law that is unconstitutional must be disobeyed. If we have to go to prison for it, let it be, but we will not be deterred. We are headed for elections on the 23rd of August. Good meaning Zimbabweans, look at where we are headed to. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Even those inside the country. Somebody just must simply say, no, I think what he said when he was outside is not in the best interest of the country or whatever. Then you're in jail. So I'm hoping that, or he thinks I'll be speaking. No, now I'm mum. I'll be talking using signs to the countrymen, and they will know. But we'll continue to talk. Thank you very much.
Do you have any closing comments? Or more questions? There are more questions. Okay, there's more questions online. President, there's a question from Justice Mtutuki who wants you on the ballot and wants to know if the appeal does not go through, what are the next steps? Because you have to be on the ballot. Can we respond to that one?
Well, I have assured him that I hope and trust that the judiciary will do the correct thing. They'll interpret the laws fairly, and I have faith that there are men and women of integrity in our bunch who will do what is correct. So as it stands, I am yet to think of any other strategy, safe to say. We will respect the process. Let's trust the process. Let's trust the process.
Vangai Banga wants to know, what will you do to protect the votes? Also, what is your plan for protecting the election agents?
This time round, the ballot will be protected, but the best way of protecting the ballot is to get the numbers at source. We need to know the numbers right after voting. How many people have voted for which candidate, right at source. And we need very strong, clever polling agents. We're in the process of putting that in place. And we also should also have a number of observers who are coming to our country. We have SADC who is deploying, the African Union, and the world over. People are coming to observe these elections. And I think beyond us casting doubts as yet or aspersions on what might happen, these bodies, including ZAC, should ensure that the elections reflect the will of the people and that those votes which have been counted can reflect exactly the position of the people across the country. So, yes, the agents also will be protected and are protected in terms of the law. I don't fear for anything across the country. They will be recruited, they'll be trained, and they will carry out their duties in terms of the law of the land. We need these elections to be free and fair. Their outcome is so important for Zimbabwe going to the future. So I don't see why anybody will try and tamper with the results. That's why I'm saying let's give Zimbabwe a break. Are we done?
I think so. Are there any more questions? I think there's one more. And are there comments in the room? No. So just one more question. Dr. Mzembe, this one is for you. They'd like to know your position on the Matebele land issue, pardon my pronunciation, Gukurahundi, thank you.
Well, the issue is captured within the context of our promise to the people of Zimbabwe, which is enunciated under the 5 Rs. So one of the Rs speaks to reconciliation. And we're obviously conscious of the history of conflict that has beset our country. Our country was born out of conflict, and it has many wounds to heal. Chief amongst them, this big wound that has been eating the body politic of our country, Zimbabwe, the Gukurahundi issue. It cannot be wished away. It has to be set down around and exhausted in terms of a proper inquiry on what exactly took place in the region during that period. There are various attempts at an inquiry which are contained in previous commissions of inquiry, which need validation going forward. Some of the reports are embargoed, so when they become public under our administration, we'll validate them through a fresh inquiry. But we have already made a promise to the people of Matebele land, and our promise is an equalization fund of 1 billion United States dollars as reparation for the injustices. In our tradition, and that tradition is a Bantu tradition, it's a tradition that obtains in Southern Africa. You pay for your sins, you reparate, and we are doing exactly that. And we're making that promise on the back of a desire to put this matter to finality. It may as well exceed, when the inquiry is concluded, it may as well exceed even that 1 billion United States dollars. But at least we are the first political actors to actually issue a statement where we promise reparation, we promise compensation for past injustices.
One last one for you, Dr. Mzembe. It says that you and Passenger 34 are Zimbabweans. You have my vote, and I guarantee you my vote. I would like to know, what is your relationship with the opposition, more specifically the prospects of working with key players like Nelson Chamisa of the CCC?
Well, Nelson and us, Nelson and me and Tyson here, are generational contemporaries. He could never be closer to Emerson than us. We are actually in the same generational cohort, this generational group. So we do talk quite to the contrary of what people think when they try and stoke fights between us on social media, and we see this. We see this narrative of wanting to clash us, to Vanatinai Zigwe, people wanting to see us react to what they prompt us to respond to on social media. We are not social media politicians. We are very serious people, and we do talk behind the scenes. In fact, I can disclose that we had a conversation, a lengthy one, just yesterday, between the three of us, myself, Nelson, and Tyson. And we're talking about the future of Zimbabwe. We're talking about the future of a country that we want to see rescued from family capture of the state, rescued from elitism, rescued from entitlement. And we have a chemistry that goes beyond comprehension of social media pandas to the realm of statecraft. So we are talking, and at the appropriate time, will deliver good news to the people of Zimbabwe that they wish to hear with their ears and see with their own eyes. There is nothing that is more superior to a generational consensus in the struggle for freedom in Zimbabwe right now.
Thank you, Chairman. We've got a whole barrage of questions. However, we've gone way over our time. So sadly, we have to close the session. Zimbabweans, on the 23rd of August, go out, vote, exercise your democratic right, because Zimbabwe belongs to all Zimbabweans. Thank you very much.